Hi, I'm Marla from OrsinisAngels, and today I'd like to share with you how I created this Halloween decoration. You can use it for the table, or you can use it just to put it on a shelf with the rest of your Halloween decorations, or even make it as a gift for a friend. I was inspired by vintage candy cups, and I will share with you the entire process for creating this. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Okay, so for the decoration, the Halloween decoration, I used one of the Wilton, what they call them, nut party cups. And I used crepe paper. It's not the best crepe paper in the world. And what I did was I gathered it, and I'll show you how I did that. I basically folded gathers in place, and then I used my sewing machine to hold those gathers. So I just ran a stitch, like for the black I ran a stitch in the center, and for the orange crepe paper I ran a stitch closer to the edge. Now for the tulle, I had some net lace fabric, and I just cut like 1.5 inches wide, and I used the whole width of the fabric and cut it in 2 pieces, and used my sewing machine to run a gathering stitch, and just held that in place. And you can also use a just a needle and thread if you don't have a sewing machine for both the crepe paper and the net tulle. And here I had some pipe cleaners that were glittery black pipe cleaners, and I just used the glue gun to adhere it in place. And as you noticed, I was just measuring using the cup how much of that gathered orange crepe paper I would need. And since I had the glue gun out, I decided to use it to adhere the rest of the the crepe paper and the tulle to the cup. And as you notice, I'm putting the orange at the top so that it has a ruffle on top. And I'm starting at the back and ending at the back. And that's the little witch that we're going to use for the decoration. And I do have a digital download that you could purchase from my shop, and I will put a link to that in the description of this video, so you can find it, or you can use something else that you have, some other clip art or something. But anyway, so I'm just kind of gluing the strip of the black gathered crepe paper around, and just I started it in the back and ending it in the back again. And here I'm going to taking one of the gathered strips of tulle, well, basically net lace fabric, and I just thought it would add a little decorative touch. And I'm just kind of gluing that around, making sure that it's not, that it's nice and neat and not all tangled around while I'm doing that. So that's what I'm doing here. And really having fun with this project, because it kind of reminds me of vintage Halloween decorations. And so it's kind of fun to make your own vintage style Halloween decorations. And I just love antiques and vintage Halloween and all of that. So and I'm just kind of putting everything in place and making sure everything is adhered. And then I'm just kind of untangling the strings that I used to gather the thread and just cutting that off. And then I had in my stash just some orange satin ribbon, and I thought it would make a nice touch in the middle of the tulle. So I'm since I have that glue gun out, I'm still using that to adhere the ribbon on. And just kind of going around and trying not to burn my fingers, which that's something that can happen easily when I use the glue gun, and just kind of trimming off. And as you see, I didn't really measure anything. I just kind of used the cup to measure how much I needed to go around it with the tool and the crepe paper. So I found a little vintage button that I had in my stash, and I used the glue gun to just adhere it to the center. And I took another piece of tulle, and this is like 1 inch wide, and it's doubled, well, 2 inches doubled, but I had two pieces, and I just kind of did a gathering stitch, and I'm going to use that for decorating and giving some dimension to the skirt. And this is the digital download that you can purchase for the Little Witch, and it also comes with a project where you can make a junk journaling tag. Now, in order to make it sturdy enough, I printed out the Little Witch on cardstock, and it's 80-pound cardstock. And then I printed out on, another piece of cardstock, the backing. So like there's going to be 3 layers of the cardstock. So there's 2 in black, and then 1 with the design of the witch. That the original was an actual watercolor that I did and uploaded so that I could share with you in my digital shop. And I often use wax paper, and as you noticed, I used a quick drying tacky glue, and this particular one is made by Scotch, and it really doesn't matter what brand, but it's whatever you prefer and whatever you have handy. And I'm just kind of smoothing it out, the glue, so that it's not going to get too much on the front of it. And it dries so quickly that it wasn't exactly centered. But that's okay, because it kind of gives it, that black peeking out there gives it a little bit more dimension. And, perfection is overrated. Now, as you notice when I'm doing this, this is the stand, because the legs are so skinny and fragile, I didn't want them to break, so I was going to attach it to a stand. But as you watch me do this, I am using a brayer, I'm using wax paper, and I find that makes it easier, and I wind up having a more sturdy product when I do this. I do this a lot for my paper crafting, and it's less messy, less glue all over the place, and it just seems to work better for me. And here I'm just gluing the bottom of her legs onto the stand, and I have it up a little bit, and then again I'm using my brayer, and as you can tell, that brayer has seen a lot of wear and tear, and I've had it a really long time. So here's the dress that I had printed out on cardstock, and I'm just going to glue the tulle skirt onto the dress, and making sure there's enough left over that I can glue some of it behind the dress, and that'll just hold it in place a little better. And when you're using the liquid glue, it takes a little bit longer than you would if you were using the glue gun, but I just kind of like how it looks in the end. So, but you do need to kind of hold it down for a few minutes, and I found that using the wax paper is easier, because then it doesn't, stick to your fingers and come up. And I did let it dry for a little bit, and then I took a little piece scrap of crepe paper, and I'm just kind of use that as a waistband on it, and just to kind of brighten it up and add a little dimension to the little witch that we're going to attach to the candy cup. And again, using the wax paper just seems to work better, so that you're not getting glue all over your fingers and, making a mess. And I'm just kind of making sure everything's glued in place. And just setting that aside, making sure that it looks nice on it. And I wanted to add a little dimension to the hat, so I just had some glitter. It wasn't the greatest glitter in the world, but it was what I had. And I'm using the glue to just kind of paint on where I want the glitter. Another thing you can use if you have Mod Podge, that seems to work really well with glitter also. And the paintbrush was not a good paintbrush. I would not use a good paintbrush for the glue. So it's just kind of like a trashy, cheap paintbrush. And I set the little hat aside, and then part of the digital download is a little pumpkin that she has. So again, I'm making it in 3 layers, so that 2 layers are black behind it, and 1 layer is the pumpkin that I had originally done a watercolor of. And here I have a piece of black cardstock, and I folded it in half and then folded it again a couple of times to make 4 parts and a little flap. And again, I'm not measuring, I'm just kind of doing that, and this is going to go right into the candy cup and give a place to attach the little witch to hold it in place. So I'm just setting that aside and continuing to decorate the little witch. Now, often when I use these paper dolls, I do add a separate face just to continue to add a little bit of dimension. And I kind of like the layering of, when you're making a paper doll, whether you're using it in a tag for a junk journal or art journaling or that kind of thing, or just as a standalone. I do enjoy making it a little dimensional. So there I just glued on the little dress. So you're not going to see the mess that was behind it because it's going right on top of the paper doll. And all of that is kind of sandwiched in between the dress and the little witch. So I decided that I wanted to put the pumpkin right on her hand so it looks like she's holding it, and just glued it in place. So for the hat, I had let it dry a little bit, and there's also some flowers in the digital download. They're really tiny, fussy cuts. So if it's something you want to skip, that's fine, but I thought it added a little bit more dimension and detail to the hat. So I am just going to glue the hat over the paper doll's hat, and I'm just kind of smearing the glue with my finger so it doesn't get all over. And I always have a little wipe to wipe my hands, and because I'm trying to keep most of the glue off. So if you wanted to do it as a standalone, you would just glue those 3 pieces together and then fold it a little bit down and glue just the top on, like they used to do with paper dolls. But since I'm using this one just to embellish the candy cup, or, you know, Halloween decoration, because it's really not going to be used for candy because I'm putting too much in it. So I'm just gluing it to that little cardstock piece that I made, and then I'm just adding glue to the bottom and placing it, making sure that the little witch is in the center front. And here, you know, since there was a little opening, I'm trying to make sure that it's secure and in place. So now I took a little bit of tulle and I just cut 2 pieces, and just to kind of decorate the rest of the inside of the cup. And you can continue to decorate, but that's pretty much it. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do, feel free to subscribe to OrsinisAngels YouTube channel, where I have several free tutorials available. So thank you for watching. Bye now.